What's the most amazing thing about the universe? It must be true that either it didn't exist, then it did, or it has always existed. Matter, when subjected to enough energy and time, becomes sentient and ponders its own existence. That it created self-aware entities that think about it. That it doesn't exist to be observed. In fact, under different circumstances, all of its trillions of stars and planets and oceans and moons and mountains could exist for billions of years without ever being observed by anyone. Edit. Typo. How young it is. People look at the universe being 13.7 billion years old and say, that is ancient. That is nothing. Stars will continue to form for another 100 trillion years. Even after that, stellar remnants will exist for quadrillions of years. Black holes will still produce energy that can be used by intelligent civilizations for 10 to the power of 100 years. Keep in mind, if biological life doesn't destroy itself, we will just keep getting more and more knowledge. It's probably a safe bet that within 500 years, which is nothing on universal time scales, we will be an interstellar species that has long ago transcended biology. There is no telling what our descendants will do for the remaining life of the universe. The 4 to 5 billion years of biological evolution of life on Earth will be looked at as an embryonic stage for endless quintillions of years of real life to begin post-biology. They will view the universe as their oyster, a place of infinite possibilities, while we are still just spending our days trying not to die and trying to avoid being punished by our brains with pain. Its size compared to its speed limit. Edit. The visible universe is 98 billion light-years across and only 13.8 billion years old. Nothing travels faster than the speed of light. It would take you longer than the universe has existed to reach most points in the visible universe, even if you could travel at near light speed. That's if the universe was static. It's not. The universe isn't only expanding, the rate of expansion is accelerating. The size of the greater universe is estimated to be 250 times larger than the visible universe and 7 trillion light-years across. The overwhelming majority of the universe can never be seen because it's growing faster than light can travel across it. Eventually all of the visible universe will be so far away that its light will never reach us, and the visible universe will be limited to our local cluster of galaxies. Edit 2. To all the grammar Nazis I triggered. Eat a bag of dicks. Edit 3. A lot of comments on how the expansion of the universe can be greater than the speed of light. The galaxies aren't speeding away from each other. The space between them is growing. Picture a balloon. Draw some dots on it. Now blow it up. The dots are farther apart, but the dots haven't moved. The space between them has expanded. Nothing has moved faster than the speed of light. Space has stretched. There is no center to the universe. Space is expanding outward from every point in the universe. Edit 4. How can the observable universe be bigger than twice its age? Expansion. We can look into the past and see the light from galaxies that have now expanded so far away that the light they are currently emitting will never reach us. Edit 5. How do we estimate the size of the greater universe? Age and rate of expansion. Edit 6. How do we know light is the speed limit? Math. The faster you go, the heavier you get. Accelerating a single electron faster than the speed of light would require an infinite amount of energy. Some people have mentioned spooky action at a distance or quantum entanglement as information traveling faster than light. There are theories that address the problem, but that's way above my pay grade. Edit 7. What is the universe expanding into? Nothing. The universe, all that we know, is just getting bigger. Alternatively, we live in a multiverse. A cosmic soup with infinite big bangs occurring, creating infinite varying universes. Like dough rising, and each air bubble is an expanding universe. Two possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. Arthur C. Clarke. That we just don't understand it. It could be flat. It could be irregular. There could be another one. It's growing at an exponential speed. It's invisible contents. We try to learn more about it using our earthly knowledge, but there is certainly more to it. It's like trying to wrap your head around eternity. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love. Everyone you know. Everyone you ever heard of. Every human being who ever was. Lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Carl Sagan. That somehow all the particles accumulated in a specific way and in specific quantities to give you conscious thought. If you nut in space, you move backwards. There is a theory which states that if ever anyone discovers exactly what the universe is for and why it is here, it will instantly disappear and be replaced by something even more bizarre and inexplicable. There is another theory which states that this has already happened. Douglas Adams. Imagine being transported to a parallel universe that was almost identical to our own. Somewhere out in the vastness of that universe, there is a tiny planet. This much is true in both universes. On this planet, there is a beach. And on that beach, there is a small stone. Once again, both universes are alike in this regard. Beneath that stone, however, there are several million grains of sand. And while they are in precisely the same location in each universe, one of them, a tiny speck of particularly clear quartz, hewn from a larger hole millions of years before, has a single atom that is positioned a fraction of a femtometer differently than its twin in the mirror dimension. You may think that such an insignificant difference would label these two universes as being functionally identical. And you would be right. In fact, they are so similar that the multiverse has long since combined them into one reality. That single atom in that tiny speck of sand on that lonesome beach on a distant planet merely occupies two spaces at once, seeming to an outside observer to vibrate back and forth at a predictable rate. That every atom in existence seems to do the same is probably a coincidence. TLDR. Everything is buzzing. It's indifferent to everything. That whatever our problems are, big or small, it won't matter in 1,000 years, worst being a nuclear war or something. That it exists. It gave us magnets. How do those work? Whales are the biggest known creatures in the known universe. One of my favorite is about the number of unique orders for cards in a standard 52 card deck. I've seen a really good explanation of how big 52 actually is. Set a timer to count down 52 seconds, that's 8.0658 x 10 to the power of 67 seconds. Stand on the equator, and take a step forward every billion years. When you've circled the Earth once, take a drop of water from the Pacific Ocean, and keep going. When the Pacific Ocean is empty, lay a sheet of paper down. Refill the ocean and carry on. When your stack of paper reaches the sun, take a look at the timer. The three leftmost digits won't have changed. 8.063 x 10 67 seconds left to go. You have to repeat the whole process 1,000 times to get 1/3 of the way through that time. 385 times 10 to the 67 seconds left to go. So to kill that time you try something else. Shuffle a deck of cards. Deal yourself 5 cards every billion years. Each time you get a royal flush. Buy a lottery ticket. Each time that ticket wins the jackpot. Throw a grain of sand in the Grand Canyon. When the Grand Canyon's full, take 1 ounce of rock off Mount Everest. Empty the canyon and carry on. When Everest has been leveled, check the timer. There's barely any change. 364 times 10 to the 67 seconds left. You'd have to repeat this process 256 times to have run out the timer. This is one I thought about recently. I believe that Carl Sagan said that we, sentient entities, are a way for the cosmos to know itself. With this in mind, when we think about the end of our universe, whether it be through a big shrink, big cooling, or what have you, we get apprehensive. We probably will never see this end. Many of us will be dead. Yet, we still get a cold fear in our hearts. We are also a way for the cosmos to fear its demise. It gave us titties. Inanimate, non-living objects eventually formed to make sentient, living beings that questioned their own existence and want to find facts about the process between the beginning of the universe to now and even want to anticipate the future. All from some hydrogen shits floating around and doing stuff. The only way we can see the universe is from inside it. We will likely never possess any way of viewing our universe from outside its physicality. That every single random event since the dawn of creation, the birth and death of stars, planets and galaxies, the very genesis of life has led to you being here right now to ask this question. The universe is in no obligation to make sense to you. Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think. Plenty of things. The way we perceive the universe. In its physical form, we think it's all around us. On a cosmic scale. But more than that, it's inside all of us. We're made of each and every atom that the universe is comprised of. It sounds super philosophical and like something a stoned person would say. But the distinctness within our universe is what sets everyone apart. The way each of us, made up of the same elements of this universe, yet manage to be so different. Perhaps you could say the greatest and rather miraculous thing of all is in fact life. Imagine, for the moment, that the universe began in a truly colossal flash of light. For the first several eons, there was little more than dust, slowly being drawn together by a combination of gravity and electromagnetism. Then, as stars formed and gave birth to planets, and as complex molecules came together, the beginnings of life emerged. At first, this life was incredibly simple, barely capable of surviving to reproduce, let alone contemplating its own existence. As the ages passed, though, it gave rise to more and more complexity, eventually resulting in beings who could look up at the stars that had birthed them and wonder, why? These creatures, driven by something they could scarcely comprehend, set about trying to define their place in the world and explain how they came to inhabit it. They began to believe, like the organisms that had spawned them. These beliefs and suppositions grew and evolved. They incited terrible tragedies and sparked incredible developments, until the day that they finally fell away and were replaced by an ever-increasing awareness of the cosmos. However, the original drive, the desire to know and understand, remained. And it prompted the thinking creatures to combine their efforts in pursuit of an answer. The inquisitive explorers reached toward the stars once more. And when they did, they encountered other beings, not terribly unlike themselves. There were rough patches in these meetings, of course, but as each species learned to understand and cherish one another, they all compounded their perspectives in pursuit of their goal. A single, interlinked mind rose from the trillions of individual beings, just as their individuals' brains had risen from tiny connected cells. It took millennia, but the entity, having come to include every creature in the universe, finally found the answer that it sought. And yet, it was not wholly content. Through its expansive consciousness and unfathomable technology, it was able to know everything that ever was, wasn't, or would be. It could control the whole of existence with little more than a passing thought. And as it contemplated, it realized what it actually wanted. Space began to shrink in upon itself. Stars and planets were swept up in an invisible wake, being pulled inward at impossible speeds and across countless light-years. It took eons more. But finally, all of the possibilities and all of the many celestial bodies were brought together in a single point. Both infinitely dense and incalculably massive, yet persisting at a size seemingly too small to exist. Tiny adjustments were made in minute, but important rules were put into place. But ultimately, the end result of the entity's influences would remain unknown. Then, there was a colossal flash of light. Planets formed, life arose, creatures scurried through the world. Battles were fought, love was found, and an entire history was written across an infinite number of unique minds. Some of those minds delighted in sharing their stories, while others wanted nothing more than to hear them. Remember to listen. TLDR. We are the universe entertaining itself. That in the grand scheme of things we are all immortal. Our organic cells will die. Our consciousness will cease, and we will no longer be able to directly observe existence. But the atoms that make up our bodies will simply be new compounds. And if energy is neither created nor destroyed, if our atoms continue to be, we will eventually make up the building blocks of new compounds. Pieces of us will watch the sun swallow up Mercury and Venus. Pieces of us will watch supernovae and black holes and all sorts of cosmic phenomena. Perhaps even one day our atoms will return to a nebula, and the cycle will begin again. A new star is formed. New planets begin to orbit it. Liquid water forms on a small green rock orbiting this star. And an intelligent species evolves to travel to marvel at the wonders of our universe. One of my favorite shows is Battlestar Galactica, and one of the quotes that stuck out to me was, "All of this has happened before. And it will happen again." I tend to think there's some truth to that. I've had a couple friends and my grandfather die this year. And as an agnostic, I am processing death a bit differently from the rest of my family. I don't think of death as the ending, as a finality. I don't think there is an afterlife as most religions conceive of it. I think that in a weird way, we all live forever. Edit. Holy shit. Silver? And people actually like this? Lol, wow, I'm just shocked. If you were on a planet 65 million light-years away from Earth and had a really good telescope, you could see the dinosaurs. The fact that people have been around for thousands of years and I just happen to exist at the same time as 6'9". A single human brain has as many neurons as there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Around 100 billion. Source: neuroscientist, filled with useless facts about the brain. The infiniteness when you look out there is crazy. Knowing what you can see is on a speckle. No matter how insignificant and bleak life may look up close. When climbing a mountain and admiring the view. Or finding a spot away from the city and looking at the stars. We will forever be hit by its beauty. The big picture is always there to be admired. To make us forget how small and pointless daily details are. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.